Oh, yes, I like it.
This is the Builders Business Success Podcast for builders who want to attract more quality clients who aren't price-focused, eliminate cash flow pressure, and get paid for every quote. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey, folks, and welcome to another episode of Builders Business Success Podcast with all flash intros and countdown timers, and it's amazing. Plus, we're going live to Facebook while one of our camera sliders has just shit itself. So we'll get that fixed while I'm doing this intro. So the purpose of the podcast, if this is the first time that you've watched the podcast, listened to the podcast, is we are covering, unpacking, talking about all of the common and costly challenges, mistakes, problems, stresses, all of that sort of stuff running a building business. And the whole idea is to look at the parts of the standard garden variety business model that most builders have and adhere to, and figure out what causes the pain and give you ideas, suggestions, solutions, processes, and techniques and so forth to be able to overcome those problems. So the other thing that we're doing, and because we're now going live into the Builders Business Success Forum, and if you're watching this on the replay and you want to participate live so you can ask questions, all you need to do is jump into the Builders Business Success Forum. So you just search for that on Facebook. You've got to answer a couple of questions to get in. We'll approve you. You jump in. You can start asking questions to us, but you can also participate in the podcast live and start to ask questions and engage in real time, which is pretty exciting. The other exciting thing that we're doing currently is that we're writing a new book, and it's basically going to cover everything that we cover in Builders Business Black Belt, from right at the start to right at the end. And how we're doing that is using each episode for the foreseeable future of the Builders Business Success Podcast to basically outline a chapter, create a chapter. So you're going to be involved in the creation of this book and the input that goes in it. So a lot of the content is going to be created or driven by the questions, the in the moment questions, or the current questions, concerns, problems, issues that you guys are having and you're talking about in the Builders Business Success Forum. So that's going to drive a little bit of the content. Obviously, we've already got a whole lot of pre-planned stuff that we implement with our Black Belt members, and in our Black Belt laboratory, figure out what works and report to you what works and what doesn't. And that will be also part of this. So in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about where to start. You might think, well, that's a bit of a strange topic, but I've already started. Why do I need to start again? Well, you don't need to start again, but you might need to take a fresh approach to what you focus on and how you think about your business. We're also going to be doing Q&A, of course. And I'm going to be sharing with you toward the end of the show a personal productivity hack. Those are always really, really worthwhile, because one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest questions I get asked, and one of the biggest objections to actually implementing the stuff that we suggest that we get from builders, is that's great, I really need to do that, but I haven't got time. So these personal productivity hacks are really going to be valuable to help you make some space in your day and in your thinking to be able to implement the stuff that we share with you in the podcast and also in the Facebook group. So what I need you to do, though, please help me with this, is if you're watching this live, I'd love you to put a comment in. And the comment, all I need is hashtag live. I want to find out how many people are watching this live. If you're watching the replay, put the hashtag replay comment in the comment section. Of course, if you want to ask questions, make comments, disparaging or otherwise, as we go through, that's totally fine as well. But anyone watching live, hashtag live, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. Okay, let's get stuck into this. And what the topic of conversation is today is where to start. And as I said, most of you watching this have already started. And this isn't about starting again, but I just want to unpack potentially the initial reasons why you started your own business in the first place. For most people, when we have a conversation about it, the reasons that we started our own business is because we thought we would earn more money than being an employee, and we thought we would have more time choice to work when we wanted to work, pick the type of work we wanted to do, all of that sort of stuff. So there was a lot more freedom of choice. And so there was time freedom and financial freedom. Speaking to most builders, they struggle with both. It's a rare bird that has total time freedom and choice and doesn't have any financial stress as well. But it is completely possible. It's totally possible, and we'll be sharing with you ideas throughout these episodes of the podcast, ideas that can help you with both of those things, the time freedom and the financial freedom. I think that achieving financial freedom, and I don't mean, financial freedom as in, I don't ever need to work again, although it's a great thing to aspire to, but just having that no financial stress. So you've got a lot of confidence in your financial situation, and having time freedom to make lots of choices would be a great thing to aspire to. But I believe that one of the reasons that most business owners never get there is because in and of itself, those things seem to be something to aspire to, but they're not in another way. Because we tend to, particularly the money thing, if money is your main driver, when things get tough or money starts to get tight, it changes our decisions. We start to play defense a lot. And if you follow any sort of sport, even Aussie rules, something like that, you've seen it plenty of times where a team is winning, and they play a brand of footy that they're almost untouchable. They're just really dominating the other side. And then for whatever reason, at three-quarter time or something like that, half time, they start to try to defend that lead. And more often than not, when a team starts to defend a lead rather than continuing on with the offensive philosophy they had to get the lead in the first place, they start to get rolled. The same thing can happen with us in business. If our focus is just money, and then when money gets tight and there is financial stress, it changes our decisions. We kind of don't realize it at a conscious level, but it changes our decision-making process, and we start to get defensive, and we start to do things that are different than what was getting us on the path to making progress financially in the first place. But one of the real key things, and I think this is the missing piece to this puzzle of moving forward and getting a business that gives you that time and financial freedom, is what I would call meaning. And my coach, Taki Moore, he talks about this all of the time. Time, money, and meaning are the three main pillars that cause people to take on the challenge of running their own business. But it could mean a number of different things. Meaning could be purpose. Meaning could be the legacy that you want to leave. Meaning could be your just cause. If you've ever read the book, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, I talk about it a lot. He talks about having a just cause, something that you can contribute to, that you're super passionate about. And on a daily basis, you can contribute to the furtherment of that cause. You can contribute to the cause and get it to help it to move forward. And what I love about this, and you can call it purpose, you can call it meaning, you can call it legacy, he calls it the just cause, is that it takes the focus away. When you listen to the whole idea of this infinite game philosophy, it takes your thinking away from win-lose. And if you think about it, did we win financially today or did we lose financially today? It's a win-lose, victory-defeat. Even time. Did I get to do what I want to do today or not? That's a victory defeat thing. When you have something that you're passionate about, when you have a cause that you can contribute to, the game changes and you get to contribute to your cause every day. And it's all about fulfillment. It's not about win-lose. It changes the game. And that's what Simon Sinek talks about in the book, is that we are playing an infinite game. Business, just like life, is an infinite game. It has no real rules. It has known players and unknown players, but there are no real rules. There's no agreed upon rules like there are in a finite game, a game of footy, a game of chess, whatever. There are finite rules that we agree to stick to, and there are known players. You know who your opposition is. But business isn't like that. There are unknown players and there are no rules. People break the rules, what we think are rules in business, all of the time. They disrupt thinking. They disrupt approaches. And they can be very, very successful in doing so. So business is an infinite game, and we need to have an infinite mindset approach to it. And rather than having our objectives that are purely just win-lose, such as, did I get to do what I wanted to today? Did I win or lose financially? Having something that you can contribute to and live your bliss and work on something that you're passionate about on a daily basis, you get to have this experience of fulfillment, and it can really make a big difference. So what do we need to do? Well, Stephen Covey is a wonderful mentor, was a wonderful mentor. We lost him a number of years ago. He wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks about in that book, begin with the end in mind. And I think we started our businesses with a very loose vision of what we wanted in the end. But the key is clarity. We've got to get very, very clear. So one of the things we need to do to get started again, that's the purpose of this episode of the podcast, is to get started again. We're not starting again, but starting to change our thought processes, have a fresh approach with our philosophy and with our thinking. And we've got to begin with the end in mind. Where do you want to end up? And the challenge with this, because I speak to lots of people about this, and it's very, very difficult for adults, it seems, to find a passion, to find a just cause. And the challenge is that there are too many limits in our thinking and in our belief system. An example of this that had a big impact on me many, many years ago. So a long, long time ago, I was working with Tennis Australia as a consultant. I was touring all around the country to the various state bodies, Tennis New South Wales, Tennis Western Australia, and so forth. And I was at Tennis New South Wales this one particular time, and for the afternoon training session, all the parents were there, all of the kids were there, all of the coaches were there, and it was a big black sky, big black thunderclouds, rain everywhere. They couldn't get out on court. And they came up with a great idea. They said, well, we can just get Mick to do something. So they put me in a room with all of these people. So we had all of the coaches, adults. We had all of the parents, adults. We had all of the elite kids, which were kind of, I guess, 12 to 14, 15, that range. And they thought, well, we'll throw the Milo squad in there as well. The Milo squad at the time were like the little kids. They were like 7 to 10 or something like that. So all I had to do was do some sort of presentation to engage the minds of people from the ages of 7 to 65. Shouldn't be all of that difficult, because we all like the same things, don't we? I thought, what the bloody hell am I going to do here? So anyway, I started to talk about this thing called the dream catcher. In Builder's Business Black Belt, we call it the 60-second success system. And fundamentally, it's just an exercise to expand your ability to think bigger. And its purpose is to chip away at our self-imposed limitations. I mean, we can do amazing things. It's just our thinking and our self-belief or lack of that prevents us from doing so. So this exercise is profound in its effectiveness. And so I started to talk about it, and then I thought, to hell with it, let's do it. So got the guys to hand out a whole bunch of pens and paper. And I said, here's the challenge. For the next 2 minutes, I want you to write down, and when your pen hits the page, I want the pen to keep writing. That's the challenge. And you've got to write down anything and everything that would be just wicked to have, to experience, to accomplish, to become, as long as there are no limits to time, talent, or money. That was the challenge. You've got to keep writing. Anything that you'd love to have, become, accomplish, experience, as long as there are no limits to time, talent, or money. Any questions? No, off we go. Bang, clock starts, 2 minutes. And I'm looking around the room, and particularly at the adults. And the adults you could see a thought would come into their mind. So they haven't followed the rules already. They're not writing, like they're sitting there thinking. And you could see that they would have a thought, and their eyes would go up, their eyebrows would go up, their eyes would widen, and then you could just tell they killed that thought even before it had the chance to run down their arm through the pen and onto the paper. They'd go, oh yeah, oh there's something, oh. And you could just tell that the limits in their thinking were stopping them from finishing that thought and getting that thought down on paper. And the whole idea was to write down things that you thought were impossible. But looking around the adults, and they're hardly even writing. Then I started to look at the elite kids. And so they were like the 11 to 14, 15-year-olds. And guess what? They were doing the same thing. The kids were doing the same thing as the adults. They had learned at a very early age that we can't do this, or that would be stupid, or that's embarrassing, or whatever. And it was stopping them from even writing it down. But then the thing I found was I looked over at the Milo squad, the young kids, and they're writing like crazy. You know, I want a bike for me and a bike for my mate and a pool for me and a pool for my mate and all of this sort of stuff. And they're kind of asking for more paper. They're just going crazy. The lesson is we don't, you know, we're not that old before all of our excitement, enthusiasm, openness, imagination is basically bludgeoned out of us. And the challenge is we've got to get it back. We've got to get it back. And the solution is this exercise. It's called the Dream Catcher. It's part of a thing called the Personal Success Ritual. That's like a 4-step process, and the Dream Catcher, or we call it the 60-second success system, is part of that. And I'm going to share that exercise with you in the next episode. But what I want you to do between now and then is have a go at writing down or trying to find out, what is it that you are passionate about? What is it that you could find or join as a just cause? Something that you can be passionate about and contribute to every day, so we can get you moving away from this win, lose, victory, defeat type of approach to the day. It makes a profound difference. I want to help you do it, but the roadblock is going to be the limits in your thinking. So in the next episode, we're going to cover the Personal Success Ritual and show you that particular part in detail, what you need to do to start to get rid of this limitation. So I hope that is helpful. Q&A. And I just want to remind you, if you're watching this live, I need you to put #live into the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, put #replay. That's obviously if you're watching it in the Builders Business Success forum. If you're watching it on the blog, I'm not sure what you do. I don't think there's anywhere to put a comment. If you're listening to it on iTunes or Spotify or something, obviously there's nowhere to put comments either. But you can come and join the Facebook group. It's the easiest thing to do. Join the Facebook group, Builders Business Success Forum, and then you can make live comments and comments when you're watching the replay and all that sort of stuff. So what's the question? A question I was asked by a couple of people just this week is, how do I reduce interruptions? There was obviously a lot of frustration in the question, but how do I reduce interruptions? Answer number one, or part one of the answer, is do not plan to have them. And what I mean by that is have a plan each day. I think why most builders get interrupted is that they think that the best way to get the most done is get up and go at it hard. And it's absolutely not the best way to get most things done, or get the most effectiveness, or most effective day rather. You've got to have a plan. You've got to stop and you've got to invest some time in planning and prioritizing and deciding which needs to go first and what time of day would be best to do this, that, or the other. And a long time to spend on this, folks, is around about 90 seconds. So it's an amazing investment in the quality of your day. So if you do this and fill your day with things that you know are contributing to the major outcomes you want to accomplish, you can see the direct connection. You are going to be a whole lot more focused, and you're going to be a whole lot more effective, and it's going to be very difficult for anyone to interrupt you. It's going to be a little bit like when you're on the way to the airport, you're late to catch the plane, and somebody wants you to drop into their house to feed their goldfish. You're going to say, no, I'm on the way to the plane, can't do it. That's what you need to be doing every day. Have your day so planned and filled out with stuff that you know is high leverage, that will make a big difference to your goals and objectives, that it's really difficult to knock you off course. But in the absence of those things, you will be easily able to be knocked off course. You'll easily be distracted and interrupted by people to take you off course. And at the end of the day, you'll have worked like a crazy person. You'll be exhausted and you go, what did I actually accomplish? So if you've ever had that experience, this is probably the reason why. Part two of the answer to the question is choose better environments for the high leverage activities. So when you're planning the activities that you know really are important, that are going to make a big difference to the progress toward your outcomes and objectives, you need to be smart and choose environments where you can't be interrupted. And that might be jump in the car and drive halfway around the block and park under the shade of a tree, turn your phone off or whatever so you can do what you need to do. But nobody knows where you are. They can't knock on the window and say, excuse me, or walk into your office, or if you're trying to do it on site and they keep coming and asking you questions, you've got to create the environment so you don't get those interruptions. So two-part answer. I hope you got some value out of that, and I'd love to get some feedback when you've started to implement that. Just another reminder, if you're watching this live, put hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, please put hashtag replay into the comments for me. So, personal productivity hack time. This is super simple. I've said it a lot, and I find very few people implement it. So I'm not sure why that is the case. I love it. It really makes a massive difference to me. Have you ever been late? Are you one of those perpetually late people? Are you always late? Let's fix that. Like, one of the reasons is this, that in your mind, if you haven't got a tool to schedule with, that's part of the problem. But even if you've got an appointment book or a diary that you use, generally, if you've got an appointment somewhere, a meeting with somebody somewhere, what you put in that is your arrival time. You say, I've got this meeting with so-and-so at 1 o'clock. And that's what goes into the diary. And you think that you're going to be able to figure out what you need to do before that to get there on time. Very rarely works. So this is how I do it. I go, I need to be there at 1 o'clock. I always like to be 10 minutes early anyway, because there's roadworks, there's traffic jams, there's red lights, there's car accidents, there's all sorts of things that could happen. So I want to plan to be there 10 minutes early so I've got that bit of a buffer. I then figure out how long is it going to take me to drive there. I add that onto the 10 minutes. I figure out how long is it going to take me to get a car spot and walk to where I need to be and arrive at that appointment 10 minutes early. And I work all of that back. Only takes a few seconds to work it out, folks. And then what I put in my diary system is the time that I leave to go to that appointment, not just the arrival time for that appointment. Took me a hell of a lot longer to explain it what it takes to do it, and it makes a massive difference. Being late is unnecessary. Like, you just don't need to do it. There's every so often that there's something that you just couldn't avoid. But for the most part, like, people are late to meetings. They go, oh, sorry, the traffic was bad. Or sorry, I got held up at a meeting. I mean, that's just weak as piss. You're not taking responsibility. Don't use other people or those sorts of things as an excuse for you not being organised, because being late is unprofessional. Being late causes stress, unnecessary stress for you, and often pisses off the people that you're meant to be meeting as well. So there's one little tip that can make a profound difference. Start scheduling what time you need to leave site or leave the office or leave wherever you are to get to your meeting, and stick to that. But make sure you allow to get there early, allow for time to park, to walk, to do all of those sorts of things that we don't consider. It will make a big difference. And I'll guarantee you, folks, if you do this, you will feel significantly more in control over your day. And that's a massive thing. Time management is more about how you feel rather than how much you get done. So, hope that is helpful. What's the takeaway? I like to come up with a takeaway for you for every one of these episodes. I think if we look at what I talked about at the start and then the productivity hack and the Q&A, I think this sums it up. That proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. That's what I reckon. I think that you have so many things that you can tighten up, that you can take control of, that you can start to plan and prepare for. And it increases your performance. It increases your confidence. It creates a great example for your team members. People, your suppliers, your subbies, all of those sorts of people begin to think, what a super reliable person. That is really important when you're building leadership, building team, building connections, building rapport, building trust with people, is being prepared and showing that you're consistently prepared and reliable. That's what happens. I think preparation equals reliability and certainty, and people just love certainty. They're attracted to that. So it's a very worthwhile thing to think about. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. So just get into it. That is it for this episode of Builders Business Success Podcast. Just want to remind you one more time, if you are watching live, please put in the hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, put in hashtag replay. We'd love to talk to you. If any of this stuff has made sense and you want a hand to implement it into your business, let's just jump on a call and have a chat and find out how we might be able to point you in the right direction, give you some resources, get you moving in the right direction. So I'd love you to book a call. What you can do is I will put a link in underneath this live that you can click, fill out a little form, and it'll take you to a calendar to book a call so you can have a real quick chat. If you're watching it on the blog, there's a button underneath this video. You just press that, same thing happens. If you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple, or one of the other platforms, all you need to do is navigate to buildersbusinessblackbelt.com.au and you'll see schedule a call buttons all over the website. So you just press one of those and the same thing happens. Now, I've got a bit of a giveaway. I have this book here by Brandon T. Adams. He has been on the podcast before. He is an amazing snoozer. He is an incredible guy, very, very successful guy, very inspirational guy. And his book is called The Road to Success. It's a brilliant read. It's got a whole lot of really cool information in it that can help anybody, whether you're in business or not. But obviously, we're talking to builders here. And I'd love to give you a copy. Now I'm not going to try and pick them up. Yes, I am going to try and pick them up. There they are. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 6 copies. So what I'm going to do is give you a copy. We'll pay for postage. We'll do everything. We'll send it out to you if you want a copy. And I'm going to give a copy out to the first 6 people that schedule a call. So jump on, schedule a call. Let's have a chat. See how we can help you. There's nothing to buy. You don't need to bring your credit card or any of that crap. We're just going to have a chat and find out what is the best direction for you. And if we can help you, great. If we can't, we'll point you in the right direction. No big deal. But just by having the call, we'll give you a book. So jump on a call. When you're on the call, just tell us the delivery address where you want the book sent to. We'll send it out. I've got 6 copies. That's all I've got. So you want to be the first 6 people to schedule a call. Get on a call. So book it as soon as possible too, because, you know, if more people than 6 schedule, it's going to be the first people who have the call that get the book. And when we run out, we run out. So there you have it. So I hope that's all been valuable. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Builders Business Success Podcast. We'll be back again live into the Builders Business Success Forum Facebook group next Tuesday at 10 a.m. So if you want to be with us live, just pencil that in. Don't pencil it in. Write it in blood. I think that's the way to do it. Write it in blood to make sure that you're really serious about coming and spending some time with us, because I want to make it worthwhile for you. So that is it. We'll be back again. I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all for this episode of the podcast. Bye for now.
Okay, that's the podcast. If you have a question or want to know how Mick can help with your building business, email your request to mick@buildersbusinessblackbelt.com.au. Do it now.